Hello, everyone, and welcome to our network showcase. We are here in the middle of We Give Summit, and we have planned this session for such a long time because we want to, for you all that are starting your giving circles or have been part of a giving circle, but we're thinking about joining a network to learn from the amazing networks that exist in the US. And many of those networks are also doing work internationally in Canada, in Europe, in Mexico. So we're happy you're here to hear why you should join a network, right? I'm going to just tell you a little bit of my personal story, right? For me, it's very important to know that I am part of a giving circle, but it's not only our 25 or 30 members. We're part of a network, a bigger family where we can learn from other circles. What are they doing? Who are they granting to? The little issues, challenges, opportunities that they have. So we're not reinventing the wheel. Being part of a network is that. It's just being in community with people that think like you, that have, their values aligned with you. And there are many, many, many different kinds of networks, around identity, around faith, around the type of community that you will be supporting, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to take more time. I'm going to pass it to our amazing leaders from our networks. And we are going to start with, I completely forgot, with Lori.
With me.
Thank you, Lori.
Hi, everyone. I'm thrilled to kick this off. My name is Lori Richter, and I run a chapter of 100 Women Who Care in North Suburban Chicago. And I'm also one of the founders of the 100 Who Care Alliance. And the Alliance is just a non-governing group that's more of an advocacy and connection group. And we have about 715 active chapters and about 400 or so that are under development. And the first thing people always ask us is, why do you have so many chapters? Why are you so big? And the easy answer to that is because we have really no barriers to entry, no obstacles at all. So as somebody who wants to lead a group, it costs next to nothing. And you can take our basic model and you can customize it to work in your community. And you can get a bunch of your friends together. And as long as you can find a place, whether it's virtual or in person, to me, you're on your way, you're off to the races. And as a member, it's also very easy to join. It's $400 a year. We ask people to pledge $100 a quarter and 4 meetings a year, which you may or may not come to as long as you pay your donation. It's okay with us. And also a lot of the people that join our groups, they are not professional. They are not public speakers. They are not even philanthropists. They're just people who want to be involved and they're not really sure how to do that. So this is sort of a first step. I even call it philanthropy light sometimes because it's a lot of people's first exposure. How it works, it's very simple. We meet 4 times a year. Members put their names in a hat if they want to nominate a charity for presentation. We randomly pull 3. They get 5 minutes to present their charity. They get 5 minutes Q&A. We're done in an hour. Everybody votes. Everybody has an equal vote. It's very small d democratic. And then whoever gets the most votes is the group that wins the money that night. And I thought a lot about, how is our group different? And I think there are 2 things. And Sarah mentioned this just a second ago. Most giving circles are organized around either some kind of identity group or something that everybody shares in common that they want to fund, education, equal justice, whatever. Our group isn't really like that. We don't necessarily share values. Our group is organized around geography. So we all operate in some small area. It's usually a county somewhere. And everybody is from that area, and the money that we donate only goes to charities that support that area. Most of their money has to be allocated there. So we end up getting people who it's not just a sense of community in the group, but it truly is the community. And they have heard of these charities, but they want to know more about them. Oftentimes their own friends and family have been touched by them in some way, which is why they get engaged. And that's what really brings us together. And the interesting thing is we don't necessarily all want the same things. And we go through this voting process, and the charity that you like the most might not win. But the biggest thing that we share is this commitment that it makes sense for us to pool our money together, and we can do more with the money that we pool together than I could do with my money alone. If you have 100 people in your group, you're raising $10,000 every time we meet. And for the group to be able to hand $10,000 to somebody, everybody in that group knows that was more meaningful and will have more impact than the $100 I might give to my own individual charity. So that's really what we share, the collective part of this, the collective impact matters. And I've run this group for 9 years and I have not had anybody say, I don't like that charity, I'm not willing to pay for it. So people really do sort of buy into this, the will of the group that matters. And the last thing I will tell you is 3 months later, the award recipient comes back and talks to us about what they did with the money or what they're going to do. And it really makes a complete circle for our members to understand what happened with the money they donated, which is so unlike usually when you write a check and you don't hear anything else about it. So that's my group. We're always open for new members. We're always open for new circles, 100whocarealliance.org. And I am going to pass it over now to Maya from APIP.
Great. So glad to see you all and excited to be here with you. APIP is our Giving Circle network is as diverse as APIs in this country, which means over 50 languages and over 50 ethnicities and over 100 spoken languages. So APIP is a national network. And just to tell you a little bit about our history, which you can see in the link about our report, we actually launched a national campaign a number of years ago that created giving circles all over the country and raised money from everyday givers, I call them. So they aren't necessarily people working in philanthropy or considering themselves a philanthropist, but they actually are everyday givers who come together to create collective giving and also collective community. Just wanting to also lift up some key elements about APIP's Giving Circle model. We are really centered in social justice values because that is the core of what APIP is around racial equity and racial justice. And so community empowerment and the giving as an essential elements of civic engagement are part of how we see things in our network. It's also a networked approach, so we connect individual giving circles to each other, regardless of the number of people or the amount of money they raise, so they can respond to the needs and also build community together and learn from each other, which I'm sure you'll hear from many of the speakers tonight, is on how these communities can learn together, and the networks are incredible in terms of building that and learning. Also openness to different funding models. There's not just one type of API. There are many different types of circles. Some of them are grouped by family with one family vote, and others are just a group of friends, while others actually are a group of people who don't always know each other, and they issue something called a request for proposals, and organizations in their community will just go and apply. And then through the Giving Circle process, they'll identify the groups that they want to fund to. Just to say a little bit about the diverse groups, inviting you, of course, to join one of our existing groups or create a new one. And also that in 2020, we had some COVID-related response funds. So in addition to addressing immediate economic and health concerns, including anti-Asian hate and violence, mental health, domestic violence, also a number of the groups really worked around transracial solidarity, particularly with Black communities. And so I'm just going to give you a little taste of 3 different groups that we have in our network. The Asian Mosaic Fund, which is based in Philadelphia. And what they've been doing over the last year is really working on not only funding the needs directly in their community, but also they voted to support the Black community after George Floyd. And 25% of their grant making actually went directly to support their communities, and they're also the Black community through another Black giving circle. That's how they kind of made those connections. And they also do a lot of long-term partnerships with their partners. So it's not like the typical philanthropy model of 3 years to 5 years, and then you kind of cycle off. They have longer, deeper partnerships. The Devada Circle, which is a group of South Asian women, specifically Cambodian American women, also kind of have that model and really listen to their longtime grantees to fund and support their work, from hearing from those most impacted about what they need. And then, of course, the Lacuna Giving Circle, which is APIs who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or intersex, or androgynous as well, I believe. And Then I also invite you to stay in touch, either whether you're curious about joining one of our existing groups or whether or not you'd like to begin a group. Please feel free to contact me at maya@apip.org. Thank you. And I'm going to now turn it over to Muhi.
Thank you so much. My name is Muhi Khwaja, and I'm the co-founder of the American Muslim Community Foundation. AMCF was started in 2016, and we operate over 130 donor advised funds now across the country. We manage 8 giving circles, many of which were partnerships that we now host. And we also have 10 endowments with other nonprofit organizations across the country, and more than 15 fiscal sponsorship agreements as well. As many of you likely know, all across the globe, Muslims were observing the month of Ramadan and fasting this last month. And through AMCF, we helped those families who participate in giving circles and donor advised funds donate over $1.2 million. And since 2017, these families have given more than $4.5 million. I helped found AMCF because we wanted to change the narrative of Muslims in America and showcase the impact of our charitable giving. Muslims support their local schools, museums, hospitals, food banks, and critical basic need organizations, and definitely our own institutions within our community that are helping with social justice as well. But Muslims are just as likely to give to organizations outside of our faith community as we are to our own faith community. So like many of the giving circles you're going to hear about today, it's a great way to give with like-minded individuals. If you're interested in interfaith work, or if you're a Muslim yourself, or particularly a Muslim woman, we have multiple giving circles for you, and you can learn more on our website. I'll be sure to put the information in the chat box. But best of all, if you want to be an ally to the Muslim community, you can support AMCF. You can give your funds to an operating giving circle and allow them to distribute it to other organizations, or simply support our work. As our faith calls us to give of what we love and to do charitable deeds every day, the power of collective giving will be that much more empowered, and we believe we will receive the good of the collective as well. So maybe this giving circle has $400 or $5,000 or $50 as the minimum. We believe that everybody who participates will receive the collective benefit. American Muslim Community Foundation loves partnering with Philanthropy together because they empower us and help provide resources to the many giving circles that we host. As I mentioned, we host 8 giving circles, and some operate geographically or by gender identity. And AMCF is also looking forward to joining the 100 Who Care Alliance and Philanos as well, which you'll be hearing from. We're excited to have launched the American Muslim Women's Giving Circle in Women's History Month earlier this year. And that giving circle is accepting members until June 30th. We're also very excited to be launching an interfaith giving circle later this year with Amplifier at the Jewish Federation of North America. And what more important time than now with everything happening in Israel and Palestine. And with that, I'll pass it on to my dear friend, Liz Fisher. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's such a treat to go after Muhi. My name is Liz Fisher, and I'm with Amplifier at JFNA. Amplifier works to ignite and strengthen giving inspired by Jewish values. We have all sorts of different kinds of collaborative giving experiences, including giving circles. We have a network of around 130 giving circles, and we work with people to help them start giving circles and to connect with other giving circles that really are inspired by Jewish values. We intentionally say inspired by Jewish values versus Jewish giving circles, because we believe that the Jewish community is very diverse and people give to all sorts of things inspired by their values. Some of those might be more traditionally Jewish causes and some might not be, but really comes from a place of values. We're excited to be working with AMCF and with CIN and others to think about what interfaith giving means. Something really interesting about Amplifier, in addition to the work that we do in the Jewish community that's useful for folks to know, is we also work with a lot of organizations that want to start internal giving circles, and we're always happy to consult with organizations that want to host and have giving circles. And if you're interested in giving and its connection with Jewish values, I encourage you to get in touch with us. We don't have a way of joining Amplifier. Sort of you call us and you're part of us. There's no fees. We encourage the folks who are connected with us also to join other networks. We know that there's great diversity in the Jewish community. We know that we have significant numbers of Jews of color in the United States, and that many people who are connected with us through our work are also connected with other networks. And I'd say for me, that's what I love about Philanthropy Together, that people can come with their whole self and really be involved in many different ways. And so thank you so much. And I'm excited because I get to pass it on to the awesome folks. So who better than the Awesome Foundation to go next?
Thank you, Liz. So, a summit for sandwich enthusiasts featuring talks on sandwiches and the law, gingham, the ultimate sandwich adjacent pattern, and an investigation of the age-old question, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Project to distribute stamps to replace Andrew Jackson with Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, so ordinary citizens could do what the US Treasury was unable to.
Purchasing telescopes for everyday folks who want to share their love of astronomy with random neighbors, and helping to kickstart a North American popscope movement.
And the recreation of that famous scene from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom for anyone wanting to play the part in a back alley in Washington, DC. So what do all these projects have in common?
Well, they are all projects that were funded by Awesome Foundation chapters around the world. So what is the Awesome Foundation? Well, it is a community of nearly 100 chapters around the world that shrug off most of the formality and rigidity of traditional grant making to try to affect change in their local communities. And we do it all with $1,000 no strings attached grants. And when I say how informal are we talking? Well, sometimes we fork over those grants in a paper bag and we just call it a day. Since our founding in 2009, we have funded over 5,000 projects and currently have 89 chapters in 12 countries around the world. And that's over $5 million worth of $1,000 grants. So it's a very basic model. In a given city, or sometimes we have a given theme, 10 trustees get together every month. They each contribute $100 and they pool that money together to make a no strings attached $1,000 grant. Except that it's not always $1,000. It's not actually trustees, since the Awesome Foundation isn't actually a foundation at all, and our chapters often have more than 10 trustees anyway. Oh, and it's all, we say $100, but actually in the UK, it's like more like 50 pounds each. And in Russia, it's 1,500 rubles. And in the Netherlands, it's 100 euros, and so on and so forth. Oh, and actually some chapters don't even make monthly grants. So it's really up to each individual chapter how they want to interpret these very, very loose rules that we have.
So the interesting thing about all of this, and something that we think makes the Awesome Foundation unique, is that our grants typically are not being made to established nonprofits. More often than not, our grantee is an individual or a group of mischief makers with a weird or creative idea that just needs a little push to make big things happen. Cash in the bag, people to people, that's where we think some really interesting things can happen. All of this is powered by a shared software platform that allows our chapters to gather and review our grant applications and publish winning projects to our global website. And we also bring our trustees together every few years to talk about what we're doing and how we do it, and also to have fun together as a global community.
So if this sounds interesting at all to you, if you'd like to learn more about the Awesome Foundation, if you know somebody who would be interested in starting a chapter, or if you have any other questions for us, you can check out, we have a new chapter handbook. And you can go to start.awesomefoundation.org, or you can drop us a line at contact@awesomefoundation.org. We'll drop these in the chat. And I'm Jesse, this is Avi, and thank you so much for listening. And now we're going to pass it over to Terry from CIN.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Oh, it would help if I actually came off of mute. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here to represent Community Investment Network. I have with me Joy Webb, who is our program director. We really are excited about coming together. We are a network that is fully engaged with collective as well as gathering together. As I pull up this PowerPoint, hopefully it actually shares with you. It wouldn't be right if I didn't have some type of technical problems, I assume. But as we go through this, I just wanted to let you know that Community Investment Network is inspiring people to give by design. We are a network that is unapologetic about inspiring African Americans and communities of color to leverage their resources to create the change that they wish to see in their communities. We go about this utilizing a giving circle model. As you all are very well aware and understanding the power of the collective, we understand that as we come together with the same core values, we're able to facilitate change in a lot more strategic ways. And as was stated earlier in the conversation tonight, the power of our collective definitely has a greater impact than as an individual. Our core values include philanthropic leadership, learning-centered practices, inclusive philanthropy, social justice and equity, which is something that we greatly were able to amplify last year, especially with the work with Philanthropy together. The programming we were able to do has been phenomenal. And then also collective influence. Those two definitely went hand in hand. About our giving circles within our network, we represent a large weight, I would say, in the South, but we have chapters, or excuse me, giving circles throughout the Northeast, West, and Midwest. We are breaking into the Northwest region. So if you have anyone who's interested in the giving circle model that's up in the Northwest, give us a call. We'd definitely like to engage with you. Here is a map of where our giving circles are located now. We have representation, again, like I said, starting in the South. That's where a large portion of our influence and giving circles are, but we have a reach that definitely spans across this nation, and I will dare say outside of it as well, because we have entertained and had conversations with those that desire to be a part of the collective giving model that span beyond the borders of the United States. This is a list. I know it's probably too small for you all to be able to see. So right now, I just wanted to let you know we have about 22 giving circles throughout the network. They range in from all men, all women, college giving circles, and they have each of their own specific focuses, area of focus, or communities that they wish to serve. Through their efforts, our network has been able to grant over $2 million and also over $16 million in volunteer hours. We always harp on the fact that we're a rare organization across organizations because we focus on enriching the supply side of philanthropy. We recognize other networks gather together, or excuse me, networks always are about gathering together and amplifying the work that's being done. The unique part of what CIN does is try to make sure that we are inclusive about the technical assistance programs, the conversations that need to happen, and also the activities and things that can help amplify the giving and ideas that you have to be able to create the change that you wish to have in your in your communities. We operate with 3 different membership levels. While we are a giving circle network, we do offer institutional and individual giving levels. From that, we have individual donors who are either a part of a giving circle, but their giving circle may not be a part of our network, or institutional foundations that do not have giving circles but wish to develop those. So if you're part of any of those cohorts, or demographics, definitely connect with us and help us to engage so that we can bring the model of collective giving in your area as well. I will not go through those, but I did want to at least point out our three things that we typically do throughout the year include our leadership summit. Also throughout the year, we do power hours and webinars. We have a Love in Action series, which is somewhat of a pop-up giving circle model. It allows us to bring the idea of collective giving to individuals who may not understand or may not know this model of philanthropic giving. And it allows them to have exposure to supply side of philanthropy. It also brings exposure to our community partners that are doing work in those areas. And then each year we look forward to our conference. It's an annual time that we gather together, everyone within our network, our community partners, our foundation partners, and other network partners as well, to get together, find out what is going on in the world of philanthropy where you are, as well as celebrate the things that you've been able to do, and also find out how we can do that work more strategically and amplify it. We also do this through 2 signature programs, which are our Essentials for Diversity and Giving. It allows us to partner with community organizations and foundations to go in and actually have conversations which help to bridge the areas in which they're trying to seek the diversity for their communities. In some cases, it's engaging donors of color. In some cases, it's engaging donors of a youth or a different demographic than is represented at the decision-making table. We try to make sure that we're engaged in those conversations so that they understand the language that is used, the behaviors that are happening, the actions that are being taking place in those communities aren't just to check off a box, aren't to say that we've engaged communities of color, but it really is about building that relationship and then having actual intentional work that's being done for those communities. From that, again, it's develop, strengthen, and like I said, elevate the giving and the work that's being done for those organizations. Another, and also our focus on the next generation of philanthropists is We Are Philanthropists Project. It focuses right now on the college level initiative in which we go into college campuses either with organizations or faculty at those schools, and then engage the students that are there to be able to understand that in this space of their life, they do have the opportunity and space to be able to give back to their community or give back to the areas of focus in which hit them the most. If there is anything that has been said here, again, we are unapologetic about being a network to support African Americans and people of color that are on the supply side of philanthropy. Please give us a phone call, give us an email. I will say if you write to us, go ahead and take that time to send an email. If you want to mail a check though, send the email or send a check there to the address. But please get into contact with us. We would love to be able to partner with you, bring the idea of collective philanthropy, collective influence, time, testimony, talent, and treasure to your organization. And I have the opportunity to pass this off to, forgive me, I know it's future now, Melissa.
Thanks so much. And I am going to, I know we're running late, but I'm going to try to be succinct. It's hard for me though. So I'm Melissa Walker. I'm the director of Giving Circles at Future Now Fund. It's been so cool to hear about what everyone's doing, and I can't wait to hear more. I'm taking a lot of notes. I started a political giving circle kind of by accident after the 2016 election. I was introduced to the idea of state legislatures, which I honestly didn't know much about, and how impactful they are. At the time, I live in Brooklyn. I grew up in North Carolina. I don't think I grew up knowing who went to Raleigh for me, and I certainly in Brooklyn didn't know who went to Albany for me. But what I learned when I started looking into it with my giving circle was that people in state capitals controlled everything that I was worried about in terms of issues, from education funding to civil rights to environmental policy to health care to voting rights, and that they actually even drew the district lines to decide who was going to go to Washington, D.C. So I also learned that it's often cheaper to change the balance of power in a state chamber than it is to win a single competitive congressional seat. So while I had many friends and neighbors working on winning back the US House or the US Senate last year, I have been squarely focused on state capitals, partially because it felt like a place that I and my giving circle could impact. I joined Future Now Fund, and while people last year were staring at the presidential results, which I did also care about, I and the 129 giving circles around the country who worked with Future Now Fund were searching local news sites to try to figure out who had won state legislative seats in various states, because we had all connected some dots. I started to understand that in my home state of North Carolina, when the bathroom bill passed, that was Raleigh. And when Trayvon Martin's murderer went free because of a law called Stand Your Ground in Florida, that was Tallahassee, and then 25 other states that passed the same law. And that when Flint, Michigan's water was poisoned, that was a Lansing problem. All of those things happened under President Obama. And I was staring at Washington, D.C. the whole time, not understanding where the structural change needed to happen. So that's what our giving circles work on. States are meant to be laboratories for democracy. They're meant to be marriage equality going from state to federal. They're meant to be healthcare going from Hawaii to Massachusetts to becoming the ACA. And we want them to be that again. So our giving circles work on changing the balance of power in state capitals so that we can elect lawmakers who share values that we believe in, who can pass laws that reflect the country that we want to be, because policy change is at the root of structural solutions to the things that we're all working on. Now, political donations can feel like they're going into a black hole. What did it do? Did it have an impact? So here's how our giving circles work. Giving circles learn about the power of state legislatures. Not many people know who their state representatives are. I will not quiz y'all, but find out if you don't know. And so they start to learn some of the things that I just talked about and a bunch of other things. We have a library, we have a lot of research for people to read. They can go as deep as they want. Each giving circle chooses the state that they'd like to target based on our list of targeted chambers. We do a 99 state chamber review and a bunch of research for the giving circles. It's 99 chambers because Nebraska is unicameral. And Future Now Fund provides the tools, the expertise, and the support to make that state selection choice. The giving circles then gather their communities and raise funds. The amount that they raise goes 100% out the door to the states that they are supporting. Our overhead at Future Now Fund is covered by other donations. And then they follow the state that they're in and look at our endorsed candidates and get to know them and follow them on social media and learn about what campaigns spend money on. So it becomes a full circle education cycle. After an election, each giving circle gets an impact report that tells the story of what happened, how their funds were invested. And then after the states have their sessions, they get a policy report on what happened and what the lawmakers they helped elect introduced and whether any laws passed. And very, very quickly, just one brief story, which is that we had 2 giving circles in 2018 who went into Maine to try to flip the state Senate there. And they were both in New York City, and they both cared a lot about Maine. And when we were able to help flip the state Senate with a candidate named Ned Claxton by 235 votes, we watched the next year as Augusta passed automatic voter registration, lowered the cost of prescription drugs, raised teacher pay, expanded healthcare access, and did a bunch of other great things. And those giving circles felt really connected to those policy changes. So this is what our giving circles work on. This is what they do. They do the work, they gather their people, they work to change power in a state chamber, and then they watch policies change and they watch lives improve, and they do their part to tend to democracy. So that's what we work on at Future Now Fund. And I am really excited to now hand things off to Wayne at Honeycomb.
Hi, everybody. My name is Wayne Green. I am the Executive Director of the organization called Honeycomb. We were previously the Jewish Teen Funders Network, and we rebranded literally just a couple of months ago. And it's wonderful to be here with all of you and to see such phenomenal networks and colleagues on this call as well. So Honeycomb is a national and international organization. We are based in New York. Do not be fooled by this accent, although I am actually calling in today from Australia, which is what this sounds like. So Honeycomb is the leading resource for all educational content, resources, and experiences to allow educators, professionals, parents, and organizations to engage youth in strategic grant making. Our vision is to create generations of engaged, empowered, and experienced change makers, Jewish change makers, and givers. Our work is about supporting organizations to develop youth philanthropy programming. We have a 4-phase model that really guides us in how we think about the way that youth engage and experience philanthropy. And it's an opportunity for organizations and educators to be part of a collective that is working to support Jewish youth engaging in this space of philanthropy. Our organization develops curriculum, we provide training, and we provide resources through our network and through our new website. There's a range of resources that are available for people to download and access. There's a range of physical tools that you can now order and actually use with your programming. And we really help educators throughout the field to really think about how can we engage young people in thinking about what it means to do philanthropy in a strategic way that really advances societies, both in the United States and abroad. I know we have a number of people on this call from all over the world, and so the resources really are there for you to access from all different places in your communities. We believe at Honeycomb that the ability to do philanthropy and to be part of a giving circle really starts at a young age, and it is never too young to learn about philanthropy. There's different supports that we offer communities. We provide one-on-one consultations. We invite you to be part of virtual summits that we just recently ran. And we have a number of webinars and resources that allow you to really think about how can you engage young people to work together, to really think strategically about what are the issues and the areas of collective passions that they really want to make an impact on. We work with a range of different institutions throughout the United States and abroad to really think about how do the teens that you're working with really support the work that you want to address, whether it is areas of environmentalism, women's rights, domestic violence, mental health, LGBTQ rights, and how do we engage young people to really think about that in a strategic way, and how does philanthropy and giving collectively support changes in those areas. There's also an opportunity to join our network. It's easy to access on our website. It's a easy name, honeycomb.org, and I encourage people to contact us, and we can reach out to you to really support the work that we do in our community. We are running late, so I am keeping it short, but just to say again that we have a range of different supports and services, and it really is important that we think about how we can bring in this young generation to be involved in giving circles, so that then when they get to be older and through college and all the different life cycles, they continue to be engaged in this important work that all of us are really invested in. So I'm really proud to be able to work with the young generation and really help them to guide them into this next stage of what it means to do philanthropy to help change our world and all the work that we're all doing. I'm excited to hand it over to Evelyn, and nice to see you on the call.
Thank you, Wayne. Hello, everyone. I am Evelyn Montes, daughter of Rosario Montes, also known as Chayo, granddaughter of Maria Sanchez. And I am very happy to be here and to speak to the Latino Giving Circle Network. We are a 22 circle strong network. Our first circle began or was founded in 2012. So now we're at 22 and we're going to continue growing. So a little about the Latino Giving Circle network. So in terms of structure, what we do is we identify folks that can provide $1,000 a month. We break it down to, you can give that up front or $84, monthly. Excuse me, $1,000 a year, $84 monthly. And what that does then is we convene 4 times a year. So the first meeting is so we can identify our funding priorities. Our second is to get a little more education once we've identified our funding priorities, to get more like a landscape analysis of what's happening in the field. Then we invite organizations. So we as members are responsible for bringing in, recommendations. So what's the beautiful thing about the network is that it has the support of the Latino Community Foundation. So they're our backbone. And they do the vetting for us. And then our 4th and final meeting is our awards night. And so that is just the space where, that's my favorite, because we are calling folks that night. So as soon as we make our awards, we get on the phone and we call. And so that whoever makes that call actually becomes the liaison between the circle and the organization. It's so exciting to hear the folks. We hear laughter, we hear screams, we hear, happy tears. So, and I usually tear up myself. So it's really a great space. The reason I joined personally is, interestingly, Wayne, you speak about how when you're taught, to give back, that just carries over. And at one of our retreats, when we bring the network together during our retreats, we're always asked, sometimes we do this icebreaker of like, share your first memory of giving. And it's always about my parents, my mom just giving, opening the doors, feeding people, right? And so that is obviously, it's like, oh, what a great connection. Of course, of course I do this, like a recollection of that. So the giving circles really provide the organizations that we invite general operating funds. So if you know anything, it's like you said, no strings attached, right? So that's the beauty of giving organizations. And then the other thing is, because we are supporting Latino-led organizations, there is a validation. They feel validated of their work because they're being supported by Latinos who understand their work, who are, have a similar lived experience. And so the network consists of baby boomers to, young folks. We have, folks that are educated, like traditionally, others who are, just entrepreneurs, right? And it's such a great diverse place, because Latinos we're not homogenous. And so that's been the beauty of the circle for me personally. We have, the beautiful thing about it is that there's autonomy with structure, right? So each circle chooses their funding priorities, chooses how they want, the amount that they want to award the organizations. And it is this thing about democratizing philanthropy, right? Many small wallets giving a lot. And so, interesting enough, I came in for the networking aspect, but why I still stick around is for that sense of community. And even more now, during COVID, that sense of community is so important, and it's really fun. So I feel like, so in addition to, yes, the giving back, it's also just being in community with folks. So with that, I want to just say thank you, and I'm going to pass it over to Paula and Susan with Philanos. I hope I'm saying that right. You correct me.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Paula Liang, and for another month or so, I'm the chair of Philanos. Susan Benford is with me and will succeed me on July 1. Philanos is the network of 80 women's funds, foundations, and giving circles, all of whom do most or all of their grant making together. Some of our members, affiliates, have dozens of members, but many of them, like the one I belong to in Jacksonville, Florida, is 20 years old. We have hundreds of members. So collectively, our affiliates have over 17,000 members doing collective philanthropy. And annually, our affiliates invest $15 million into their communities. Most of them are place-based. We have a couple of university-based organizations. None of them are cookie cutters, even the ones whose name sounds the same. We have a lot of Impact 100s, but they've all iterated beyond their original model. Here's what we all do. Write the same check every year. For some it's 500, for some it's 5,000. 1,000 is about the median, I believe. And some have different categories of membership, for example, to attract younger women. Every Philanos affiliate is either a standalone 501c3 or is hosted by a community foundation or some other larger foundation. Every one of us runs a grants process, an education process, and some sort of democratic process that results in large, impactful grants. My group made their grants today over $500,000. So for my $1,500 check every year, we gave out $500,000 today. It was pretty unbelievable. There were tears and everything else. Philanos supplies monthly webinars, online resources. You can take a look. I'm sure somebody's dropping our website into the chat. And consulting, access to our 18-person board who have a lot of experience in this world for individual consulting. And we also run a biennial conference. We were together last in Seattle in March 25th through 27th of 2020. I always say we were the last conference out of Seattle, where the last session was about trust-based philanthropy. And 400 women went home and put all of what we heard immediately into practice. Who knew? And we learned so much from what Philanthropy Together has provided this year too, and we're so appreciative of that. Susan, what did I forget?
I don't think anything. Maybe a teaser that we're hoping to have a conference in the fall of 2022, also known as next year.
Yeah, exactly. And we decided that we would do our programming this year, our additional programming with the We Give Summit, because we knew they were going to be better at the technology than we are. And that has proven to be true. So please check out our website. Reach out to either Susan or I if you'd like more information. And I'm going to hand this over to somebody I have met in real life, Leslie Halperin of the Giving Project in Vermont. And I'm a member of one of her circles.
Great. Thanks, Paula. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you from Burlington, Vermont, where it is unseasonably 94 degrees today. I am Leslie Halperin, and along with my partner, Laura Lotka, I'm the co-founder of the Giving Project, and we are a new Giving Circle network in Vermont. We launched last March at around the same time Philanthropy Together did. At around the same time, the entire country and then the entire world went into lockdown. So we've only operated our programming and connecting and building our membership over Zoom. Our mission is to build a vibrant and diverse collective giving network in the state of Vermont, and really to create pathways into philanthropy for everyday givers, because we really believe that whether you give $5 or $5 million, you're a philanthropist. Our work in this first year has been divided into three main areas. One, we want to help people start new giving circles and build a vibrant network of giving circles in Vermont. We also are matchmakers of sorts, and we help people find giving circles that are a good match for them. We provide opportunities for community building, learning, and celebration. We've brought our network together twice already, of course, over Zoom. We facilitated a conversation about collective giving and race in Vermont, and also another conversation about due diligence. And finally, we serve as coaches and advisors and friends to our members as they dive in and navigate the world of collective giving. Since we launched in March, we've also been so lucky to be in partnership with the folks at Philanthropy together. And together we've hosted or co-hosted 2 Launchpad Vermont cohorts. And we are right now smack dab in the middle of the first ever Vermont, Launchpad Vermont Next Gen pilot, where we're working with high school students to help them launch giving circles. Our plan in the future, starting in year 2, is to convene Giving Circle members from all over the state of Vermont to have more opportunities to learn together, connect, to be in community, and celebrate the power of collective giving. We're a small but growing network. We currently have 17 giving circles that are affiliated with the Giving Project. Some we helped start, some were in existence before we launched. Most giving circles, like our small state, are small themselves and very kind of grassroots, kitchen table type groups. Memberships range, average about 10 or 20 members. But those 17 giving circles last year included more than 300 members and collectively gave more than $300,000 away to nonprofits, grassroots movements, and political campaigns. So already we have a lot to celebrate here, and it's been so great to experience firsthand the power of collective giving. Right now, thanks to support from the Vermont Community Foundation and other funders, membership to the Giving Project for any Vermont-based giving circle is free. As we get ready to dig into our second year, we're excited, really excited to be connected to you all, to learn from, you folks who have been doing this for many, many, many years, to connect and learn from our members and to figure out what they need help with. And we want to develop programming and a network that's responsive to our members' needs, accessible and welcoming, and a safe place for everyone, and most importantly, fun. So we're excited to be part of this global movement and to do our small part to bring the power of collective giving to Vermont. If you live in Vermont or know anyone that lives in Vermont that might be interested in collective giving, I would love to talk to them. I will pass it on to Wendy.
Thank you so much. And I am the last speaker, I think. I'm Wendy Fradlin, and I am with Together Women Rise, and it's been awesome to listen to all these amazing networks. I had no idea how many different Giving Circle networks there were in this country. Together Women Rise is a powerful community of women and allies who are dedicated to achieving global gender equality. We are a national nonprofit organization. We have hundreds of chapters all across the US, probably at least one chapter in every state. And each of those chapters are raising money that then gets pooled together. So all of the money from hundreds of chapters gets pooled together, and we then invest in grants. We have invested more than $8 million in grants and partnerships since we began. We have impacted more than 2 million women, girls, and their family and community members all around the world. And we have engaged more than 35,000 global citizens right here in the US. Oops. We champion global gender equality because every woman deserves the fundamental right to live freely and pursue her dreams. We believe that gender equality is achievable, in that determined women and their allies together in community can achieve anything. We know that big changes are possible because we see the innovative women-led work that is being done all over the world. And we know that women, when they are empowered, they also contribute significantly to improving and transforming their families, their communities, their country, and the world. They make the world safer, more equitable, healthier, and more economically just. We have 3 core action areas, which are very similar to many of the organizations I've heard about tonight. Big part of our organization is about learning. We are learning together in our chapters so that we understand the issues facing women and girls around the world. We're learning together to build our community, and we're learning together to fuel our collective action. Giving has 2 parts to it. The giving of our members. We have no minimum donation amounts, no membership fees or anything. Our members give what they can, and all of those funds are then pooled together. And as you say, small donations can go a long way. And particularly for us, we are investing in projects in low-income countries around the world. And really, small donations combined and invested in low-income countries really can go a long way. And community building is huge for us. We are building a diverse and inclusive global community of women who care about making the world a better place, women in our chapters here in the US, and women in communities around the world that we're supporting with our grants. And at the same time, we're creating a real sense of belonging and connection that many people struggle with today, and I've heard that mentioned several times. So we do fund grassroots projects in low-income countries. We do not fund any projects here in the US, and our grant making is guided by the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We fund a wide variety of projects related to global gender equality, from maternal and child health to gender-based violence, to supporting women-led business opportunities, and ensuring that every girl around the world receives an education. Typically, we partner with fairly small, very small grassroots organizations. Most of them are working at the last mile in the most remote places in the world. We have, however, had the fortune of partnering with some pretty significant organizations, including Peace Corps and UNICEF. Our chapters are where members gather to build meaningful relationships with their fellow change makers. They learn about the issues, and then they give to further gender equality around the world. Our organization began with a simple concept. It was about people gathering together, usually in someone's home, sharing a meal together, and then donating their dining out dollars to support an organization for global gender equality. Since then, our chapters, now more than 450 chapters around the US, have become quite diverse. And each chapter approaches things in a similar way. They might be very small, and we have chapters that are only 3 or 4 people, maybe a small group of friends that like to connect monthly through their chapter, to our larger chapters that maybe have 40 people gathering. They meet in homes and places of worship, in community centers, in company break rooms, and on virtual platforms such as Zoom. We've certainly been doing that a lot lately, as all of you have. Many of the chapters continue to share that meal together, and they enjoy foods and learning about the culture of the country that we're featuring that month. Others keep it simple. We have young professionals that grab a bottle of wine and some cheese and crackers on their way to their chapter meeting, or don't have any food at all. The style is really flexible. The main thing is that every one of our chapters is learning together with educational materials we provide them. They are building community and connections with each other, and they are and connections with the women and girls that we support. And then they're giving their donations, all of which are pooled together to fund our grants. We have many other ways that you can engage. We have an advocacy program. We have a travel program where we have trips for members to visit the organizations we've supported around the world. We have a book club that became very popular over the COVID pandemic, and ongoing regional and national events, both in person and virtually, are always taking place. We also offer many different volunteer leadership opportunities at the local level, with starting your own chapter and being a chapter leader, to mentoring new chapters that are getting launched, to managing one of our regions. We are largely a volunteer-driven organization, so our volunteers are managing our 13 regions across the country, to our grant selection process and our committee that reviews hundreds of applications every year and selects the organizations we will fund, and many other national committees. So we are always looking for new chapters to be created, new members for existing chapters. We encourage you to check out togetherwomenrise.org. You can find a local chapter, you can start your own chapter, you can get involved in other ways, and we'd be happy to have you join us. Thank you. I'm turning it back over to Sarah.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. I think you need to, okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I want to thank all the networks here for your time and explaining to all of us what each of you does. I invite everyone to start a Giving Circle, be part of Launchpad, where you will get all the tools you need to start your Giving Circle, and then you start your Giving Circle and you join one of these amazing networks. And just to say, goodbye, I wish everybody can come together here in the gallery, and we can all say goodbye together to everybody. So thank you all. Join a network. It's a lot of fun. You will get to meet awesome people, like all the people in the screen. Good night. And get over to IC's facilitation session. That's going to be amazing. Bye.